Greetings, Friday Nights and Monster Girls. I'm Count Jackula.
And I'm the Horror Guru.
And we just saw Stranger Things Season 3.
We binged that shit in 2 days because you can't keep us away from our Stranger Things, I tell you that.
No. We got the feels for that show.
Oh, man. Okay, all right. So without going into any spoilers, I will say that this is probably my favorite season so far. And that's saying a lot because this is a very strong show.
Yeah.
It's a shorter season than the previous season, so it's a little bit more compact. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more.
It's 8 hours as opposed to the 10 of the previous, but is more than the 7 of the first one.
I feel like everything comes together much more smoothly in this season, and I also felt like the escalation of events was just way more extreme this season.
Yes.
Like, you start off with something really small, then by the end of the season, it's ginormous what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. I also felt like the new additional characters were pretty awesome.
Yeah.
In particular, there's a character called Robin, who's one of my favorite characters on this show now. And she just appeared this season. And I'm just like, she's awesome. She's kind of like a Barb 2.0. And for all you Barb fans out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Damn, what else? This season is extremely gory season.
Yeah, it's an extremely gory season. It is an extremely emotionally intense one.
Oh my God. I was near tears through most of this final episode. I was just like, God damn, like, you did it, Stranger Things. You tugged my fucking heart again.
Yeah. Not everyone lives.
No, there's some deaths this season. So bring your tissue box. There is also relationships that you've seen develop the past 2 seasons. You actually finally get to see what they're like as relationships this season, which is pretty cool.
The relationship between Mike and Elle being probably one of the most center.
Yes, one of the most center. But I mean, makes sense. Mike is kind of like the weird, like, he's kind of like the protagonist of the show, even though it's an ensemble piece. Yeah. He's kind of like it. So it makes sense. And Mike and Elle kind of share that. But it's also very obvious that this season they listened to a lot of criticisms they had in previous seasons. For example, the girls get a lot more to do this season.
Oh yeah.
To the point where, like, the girls almost solve everything that's going on before the boys do in this season. Like, they're pretty fucking badass. They also made sure that all the plot threads feel like they're all connected. Because as much as I like season 2, the one thing it did have was that Elle's plot kind of goes over here and everyone else's plot goes over here until Elle finally comes back to this plot.
Yeah. It feels like, okay, let's go into Elle's history, but let's not involve any of the other characters.
Yeah, and as much as I like Elle's plot in that, it did feel like you could have integrated that better into the rest of the
Well, especially
plots.
since we started season 2 off with it.
Yes.
You know, it felt like that was going to be the main story, and it wasn't.
This season does not have that problem. Everyone's kind of dealing with the same plot, but they're coming at it from different angles, and they don't realize it.
Yeah.
So eventually they all collide into one plot, and it's all really smooth, and it's all just mwah. Yeah. They've really honed their skills over these 3 seasons, and you can feel it.
Yeah, and this whole thing is very much like Return of the Jedi in that it is 3 interweaving plots that collide at the end.
Yes.
You know, you have the Mike and his friends.
Yes. Yep.
With one exception, that being Dustin and Steve. So if you like the babysitter, Steve the babysitter, this season is very Steve heavy. Yes. There is a lot of him in this.
Dustin, Steve, and new character Robin, and what's that little sister's name?
I forget her name, but she's Lucas's little sister.
Lucas's little sister are off on an adventure on their own. The boys and the 2 girls are off on an adventure on their own. The parents, mainly the sheriff and
the parents and the older siblings are also doing something.
Yeah, the older siblings are off on their own plot, and the Winona Ryder and the sheriff are off on their own plot. And we get a conspiracy guy back. He comes back at one point, which is pretty cool. I'm glad that he actually eventually became like part of the team this season, which is pretty cool. This season did shit that I did not expect. and referenced movies I did not expect. So
I did not expect them to reference the remake of The Blob.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
This season is they go buck wild with their special effects.
Oh yeah.
This show is pretty good at having really high quality special effects, but there are points in this where I'm like, that's better than some movies I've seen.
Yeah, and there are a lot of great set pieces. There is a carnival, there is the mall, which is like the central location of this season. It's where everything kind of goes down.
Well, it's like you had season 1, which is kind of like Alien. It's like the slow burn, like suspense thing. Yeah. And then by season 2, you got a little bit like Aliens. There's more monsters and there's a little more action packed. This one feels like it took that to 11 because this season's super action packed.
Took it to 11. Wah wah.
Wah wah.
Yeah.
This season's super action packed.
Yeah,
especially once you get to episode 4, which is like halfway through, and then things just start.
Yeah, halfway through, and like it already starts crazy.
Yes,
but it gets halfway through, and you're like, I don't know what the fuck is gonna happen.
It's like, holy crap.
Where are we going with this? Holy shit.
Shit, what more can we say before we get to
Before we get to spoilers? I'm really honestly not sure. A good way of saying that is, another movie that it references, Red Dawn. It references Red Dawn because the Ruskies are involved in this plot.
And also because this season is the introduction of a mall, that means that we get a whole lot of direct movie references by way of what's on the marquee. Yeah. And if you pay attention to the marquee, some of the movies are very apt to what's happening. Yeah. And on top of that, the kids go and see various movies throughout the season, and the movies are all relevant to the plot, let's just say.
Yes.
In particular, the first movie they see.
Yes, very.
Jesus. Oh, man.
I think we should just move on to the spoilers, man.
Let's do it. 2 thumbs up for me.
All right, so here's the basic spoiler plot. Russians have taken over the rift, essentially the rift. Yeah. And they're trying to widen it open for a reason that is never quite specified.
No, we do get a hint at the end of the season what it actually was. But at the beginning, we're just knowing that they're reopening the gate. They can only do it. They've been trying to do it in Russia,
but apparently only the one in Hawkins.
None of the gates are weak enough for them to penetrate, whereas the one in Hawkins has been already opened, so it's weak enough that they can repenetrate it.
Yeah, because of 11.
So they have bought up all this property, built this mall, and built a secret facility underneath the mall to reopen the gate.
Yeah, so this is your kid fantasy about sneaking behind the mall and in the fucking air ducts and remaking Aliens.
Super Red Dawn. Yeah. Super like kids for America fighting the Russians.
Yeah.
Super Red Dawn. And you have that's the main plot, but you also have other parts of the plot happening too. Like, for example, the reemergence of the Mind Flayer, who has now taken shape in Hawkins as an actual monster and not just something in people's minds, and is absorbing dead rats to become a creature. It's weird.
Yeah, this is where that blob comes in.
Yeah, because it takes the shape of the Mind Flayer, but it's like composed of dead bodies and dead rats and dead animals.
It needs meat.
Yes. And but also makes it amorphous, so like when they shoot it, it can like reform after it's shot. It's kind of Terminator in that way. But even more Terminator than that is the fact that there's a Russian running around who looks like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger and is beating the shit out of the sheriff every time they encounter each other. And every scene with that Russian, it's very obvious it's inspired by the Terminator.
Oh yeah, there is an evil mayor plot, which is very obviously Jaws,
with Carrie Elways of all people playing the mayor and knocking it out of the goddamn park.
Oh yeah,
he is beautifully smarmy, and you just want to see him get his ass kicked, which happens twice.
Twice. It happens. it happens. But the emotional thrust of the film is Mike and
we
11.
Say film, technically show. But it feels like a film.
It does feel like a 7-hour movie, or 8 rather. Anyway, so you've got them. You've also got Winona Ryder and Hopper.
Yeah.
That's the other one. And
also Hopper and Eleven, especially at the beginning of the season and the end, is like one of the other emotional things that's really hard.
Yeah, and then there is Dustin and his mysterious girlfriend in Utah.
Okay, so he comes back from science camp, and the camp is called Camp Nowhere, which, if for those of you who don't know, is a reference to a Christopher Lloyd movie from the 90s of all things. And he comes back from that camp, and it turns out that he found a girlfriend at that camp, and she's beautiful and smart and amazing, and everyone's all like, "Oh, she doesn't exist. He's full of shit."
This is the original girlfriend from Canada.
He builds this radio tower to talk to her because she lives in Utah and she's a Mormon, and she can't get a hold of her at the beginning of the movie, and then he gets wrapped up into his plot, so he can never go back and call her until later in the movie.
Yeah, they spend Dustin, Steve, Robin, and Lucas's little sister spend a great deal of time trapped underneath the mall.
And that shit gets pretty gnarly because at one point, like, Steve gets captured with Robin, and they beat the shit out of Steve.
Yeah, there's an extended...
They do not pull their punches. They beat the shit out of him and drug him and like, convinced he's like an American agent. Well, they kept saying, like, who do you work for? And I'm like, who do you Okay, let's say you don't believe his story that he was just an ice cream worker who figured out that there was a conspiracy happening at his mall. Let's say you don't believe that. Who the fuck else was he going to work for but the American government?
The American government, yeah. Like, at that point, you're just arguing whether it's the FBI or the CIA.
Yeah, you're in American soil. What do you think? Like, it's...
Yeah, there's a bit of that, but
but I love it. I love it so much. Like, the guy playing the Russian general was beautiful. He was gloriously mean, you know?
Yeah. And, okay.
A lot of plot threads.
A lot of some more references that I loved. The gate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, with the bottle rocket.
Yeah, with the fucking... There is they telegraph it a mile away, but you're like, okay, we're going to be attacking the monster with fucking 4th of July fireworks.
Oh, yeah. There's a invasion of the body snatchers, pod people kind of subplot in which... the mind flayer is flaying. That's the term they use in the show.
Picture mind, now flay that shit.
Yeah, they're flaying the minds and turning people into the flayed, i.e. little puppets that he controls. And so the kids have to deal with that plot big time, and with these possessed people coming after them and trying to kill them. And at one point, they kill 2 of them. They explode into these little amorphous blobs of flesh and bone, and then fuse together and become like a monster right out of The Thing.
Yeah. Yep, and one of the people that explodes in that is Jake Busey.
That's another cameo in this movie, in this show. Jake fucking Busey is basically playing his dad.
Yeah, he's basically playing Gary Busey in every Gary Busey performance in the 80s.
And he's fantastic in this.
Oh, yeah. He's a complete dickhead.
He kind of ties into Nancy's plot, because Nancy's plot is basically she is trying to prove herself as a journalist, but they only really want her at the newspaper to be their food maid, to go out and get them food and to just take their notes, and that's it.
Yeah. She's just basically the coffee girl, basically.
Yeah, and she wants to prove herself, but they're super fucking sexist. And so, like, her plot starts off with that, and Jake Busey is one of the main sexist people that she's dealing with at that time.
Yeah. And then when we say sexist, we go like, no, they go comically awful with
this is not even, like, subtle. This is just, like, flat out, like...
Hey, doll. You know?
Constantly calling her Nancy Drew derogatorily, like, it's just...
Yeah.
It's hardcore.
Hey, Nancy Drew. Dead rats.
Yeah, her plot involves her discovering...
Why don't you go and fetch coffee, little woman?
Her plot involves her discovering that something's wrong with the rats in town. You know, the rats that I just explained, the mind flayer is composed of.
Yeah.
And she's following that lead, and then at one point... She takes what she's found about these weird rabid rats that are like eating fertilizer and are like congregating in huge masses for some reason. She takes that information to her boss, who then proceeds to laugh in her face along with everyone else at that newspaper. And then at one point they pull a prank on her where they put like a rat in like the cupboard where she pulls the coffee out for them. And like that's what she has to deal with on a daily basis at this damn place. And she's constantly at odds with her boyfriend, which is Will's older brother, because he's just desperately trying to cling to a job because he's poor kid, trying to support his mom and his brother.
Yeah.
And so he's just trying to cling to his job. And so he doesn't want to rock the boat. But all she can do is rock the boat because there's nothing else she can do. They've left her no room.
Yeah.
And so they're constantly at odds for most of the beginning of the season until about halfway through they form a unity. And that's when they realize that more than just weird rats are going on. We're talking like mind flayers and demogorgons and fucking Russians.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really amazing season.
Oh man. Now some of the best writing, some of the best filming. Like they went buck wild with the camera angles in this season, like full on like Spielbergian, like we're gonna really follow shit.
Yeah.
And they it's beautiful.
A lot of fluid camera movement, a lot of Spielberg shots.
Super like when the Mind Flayer is like chasing them in the mall towards the end of the season, and like the like tentacles are like forming out of it and like searching through like the stores. That felt very much like Spielberg's War of the Worlds.
Yeah. War of the Worlds or like the Raptors.
Oh, the Raptors,
and shit.
Yeah. Hardcore.
Yeah, there's also a mirror scene.
There's very much a sequence that is totally Enter the Dragon.
Yep.
Involving Russian Terminator dude and Hopper.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, geez. This whole thing is so fucking good. And it has one of the other undercurrents is goodbyes.
Yes, there's a lot of goodbyes.
There's a lot of goodbyes this season. Basically, fucking Winona Ryder is thinking of moving.
Yeah.
Fuck it, Nancy and Matt.
I forget his name, but it's Will's older brother.
Will's older brother are like, thinking of moving as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and like we said, characters do die this season. I'm not going to spoil that for you. You can find that out.
No. We'll say this though. Stranger Things has learned from Marvel.
Oh yeah, it has. There's a teaser. There's a teaser. Don't leave during the credits.
Don't turn off during the credits. Don't turn off. There's more. There's a good like 5 minutes more.
Yeah, which really indicates that there's going to be a season 4.
There's a season 4.
There's going to be a season 4, and from some hints that they give towards the end of the season, I'm assuming it's going to be a Christmas season.
Yes.
They did 4th of July. They did Halloween, so I'm guessing Christmas.
Yep.
Based on things they imply.
Yeah, because that's the final great 80s holiday.
Oh yeah.
To set shit during.
Oh yeah.
Gremlins, Lethal Weapon.
Oh yeah.
Shit like that.
100%. Christmas Vacation, like
yeah. Yeah. And dude, watching people fucking like vaporize when shit goes down.
Oh,
damn.
Especially that opening sequence.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, we're opening right away with this shit. Holy shit.
Yeah. And I don't know how to say it. There's a lot of ret wed stuff in this one.
It's very gooey.
Yeah.
It's very gooey.
Super gooey.
I'll point out one of my favorite scenes in this, which is not even a gory scene. It's not even like a action sequences. There's this really emotional scene between two characters, Steve and Robin.
Oh, the bathroom sequence?
The bathroom
sequence is great. Yeah.
They're coming down from a high after being kidnapped by the Russians and being drugged and being beaten. And they're in this bathroom coming down from that high, throwing up basically what was in their system. And they have this really touching sequence where Steve finally admits after the whole season of denying that he was into Robin.
Yeah.
That he's into Robin. And Robin has to admit that I'm gay.
She's gay.
Yeah.
Which is something that they definitely drop on you because there's no point in the show that gives you the opportunity for anyone to discover that unless she tells somebody.
And I love that scene because
it's a good scene. Yeah.
It's a culmination of something that's been building up the whole season, and it's beautifully executed, and it completely subverts what your expectations.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But it's also 100% believable with everything you've seen up to that point. You're like, oh shit, that explains a lot about things Robin did earlier in the season. Like that's okay, I get it. You know.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a bromance between a straight guy and a gay girl.
Yeah, and they have like one of the best friendships on the show right now. Like I'm one of those guys that I'm like, oh man, I fucking hate you, Steve, from that first season.
Oh yeah,
and he's now become one of the best characters on the show.
Well, they put him through the fucking ringer.
Oh my god, he finally wins a fight. After 2 seasons of getting his ass kicked by other characters' older brothers, he finally wins a fight against a Russian.
Yeah. And that's a great one because he's hanging out with Dustin. He's like, Steve, you did it. You won.
I'm kind of hoping that they let Dustin have his teeth by next season because of that poor actor having to deal with the false fake not teeth.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out like why they continue, like they put it back on him.
The reason why they put it back on him is because these seasons are basically supposed to take place months from each other. So they're trying to give him like a realistic teeth growth thing. Now, naturally, there's some problems there because all the kids obviously look way older than they did in the first season.
But I mean, didn't he have teeth in season 2?
Did he? Oh, yeah. He might have. And I just
remember like, I got these pearlies.
Oh, you're right.
So I was like, why did they?
You're right. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, they kind of hand wave it by implying that the previous ones were like temporary dentures or something.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure about that.
But I don't know why they did that.
I'll have to look shit up and revisit that because you're right. I do remember that. Yeah,
I don't know why they did it. I was like,
he also had braces this season. So
yeah, and I'm like, I don't know.
I just realized that might be a fuck up on the show's part, or maybe there's something that I'm missing.
Yeah. Maybe those are his baby front teeth. I have no clue. I have no clue what the justification is, but of course, like, it doesn't really matter. You know, the show's it's not going to ruin it for you.
Like, there's a couple like minor things that we were able to notice. Like, you were able to notice that they had like Ultra Magnus there, but
it's like 1985. There's an Ultra Magnus action figure in fucking Dustin's house, and I'm like, no, that don't come out till spring of 1986 because that came out as the fucking tie-in teaser to the fucking Transformers movie, which came out in August of that year.
See, there you go.
A year before, it's like in the first one where I'm like, that's Millennium Falcon, but that's the Millennium Falcon that they put out in the 90s. Because it's actually got a decent paint job.
So that just kind of goes to show you the fact that we were able to notice some flaws, but we don't really care. Because the show's so good.
Because I know someone's going to fucking bring this shit up.
Okay.
Well, maybe it was supposed to be like the Japanese import Ultra Magnus. And I'm like, no, because the Japanese import Ultra Magnus is not red, white, and blue. Son of a bitch. Check yourself.
So if you're not watching Stranger Things, I advise you to begin. Yes. Even though we just spoiled you on season 3. But I love the season.
Absolutely.
I think this is the best season so far. And that's saying a lot.
Yeah. So until next time, I'm Count Jackula. I've got Twitter. I've got Instagram. And I stream every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. And again on Sunday, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 a.m. Eastern of the next day because it's a midnight thing.
And I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook. Look up the Horror Guru or Blood Splattered Cinema, and I will be there.
We are both also on Twitch. I am Count_Jackula on Twitch.
That's true.
You are
at the Horror Guru.
At the Horror Guru.
I guess not at the Horror Guru on Twitch.
Yeah. Oh shit! I just remembered something.
Yeah.
We got that Patreon.
Yeah.
So you want to kick in $1 or $2? We greatly appreciate it.
Even just $1 a month can go a long way.
Yeah. And if you're like, but I'm too poor. Hey, that's cool. Free entertainment. We understand.
Oh yeah, you don't have to.
We look forward.
It's just if you want to.
Just if you want to. Just if you want to. Because just to get personal appreciation.
Oh yeah.
Because we appreciate it. So I guess until next time. Fucking what the fuck are they gonna do with season 4?
Well, we got some hints. What that's gonna lead to, I have no fucking clue.
I was like, oh shit, we're ending this. It's over. Season 3, bam. it's a fucking wrap. No. No. I'm like, what the hell are you going to pull out now? Oh, I guess we didn't resolve that one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Guess we'll see.
Well, we'll be there. So until next time, Ave Satanas, Disco Inferno, and keep watching fucked up movies and television shows.
What he tried to say.
Fuck you.